Welcome back to another hour of Scotch Hour. I'm Noah.
And I'm Jesse.
All right, we got an interesting and hopefully fun evening lined up for us here tonight. This is episode 215. And tonight we are going to be trying the Lochlea Fallow edition third crop, followed by shout-outs and get it together. I'm sure we can all guess where that's probably going to go. Our restaurant review of on the being I guess on the border, and then we're going to follow that up with our Smarter Challenge, Fate versus Free Will. Real quickly, thank you to all those who watch us on YouTube and Rumble. We greatly appreciate all of you and the continued support that you've given us. And to all the many different listeners on the many different podcast platforms, we greatly appreciate all of you as well. If you like our content, please like, share, and subscribe. And most definitely leave us some comments down below. Let us know what you think of this Lochlea Fallow edition, third crop, or what you think about Fate versus Free Will, and then also let us know about any world event that might be going on. We'd love to hear from you guys on that as well.
Scotch Reviewed.
All right, as Noah mentioned, this week's Scotch, the Lochlea Fallow edition, third and final crop. For anyone who doesn't understand fallow, farmers probably get this right away. It's basically a lot of land that has been uncultivated, or as fallow has been left for a period of time to basically repair itself. Normally after you've used land and farmed it quite a bit, the plants have sucked all the nutrients out of the soil, so leaving it some time and leaving it uncultivated for a while allows some of that fertility to be rejuvenated. So the fallow, I'm guessing, is partially because they are a newer distillery founded in 2018 by Neil Mikau. Butchering it either way. Let us know how you want it said. Meow. Oh, now.
All right, meow.
Yeah. So with that, though, with this new distillery, Lowland Single Malt Distillery, by the way, they are using their own soil and everything. So a couple interesting things here also to talk about, as it is, again, a lowland distillery, much more rare in a sense, or not as common as highland distilleries. But they do source all of their own products. So they grow their own barley. Their water source is a borehole on the farm's land. So basically they are living on their farm from start to finish to produce this scotch. 2 wash stills, 2 spirit stills, right now only a 200,000 liter per year capacity. But in 2023, here in October of 2023, the distillery did win the International Trade Business of the Year award from Ayrshire Chamber of Commerce. And in 2025, this year, January, they released their Our Barley single malt scotch ahead of Burns Night, which we know is the annual celebration of the poet Robert Burns. All right.
All right, well, real easy. There are no tours yet for this place, so there's no visitor center. It's not much to report there. I will, though, mention thank you for discussing or explain what the fallow is, because honestly, I didn't really know. So I appreciate that. If no one else does, I do, because I was unsure of that. And I was wondering, because you said it says final, right, on there. I was wondering, is it because of that, or is it because it's the third of the special editions that they put out every year?
So I'm guessing it's because, number one, 2018. So because of Scotland's laws, they have to age these at least
3 years.
3 years. So 2018, I'm guessing whether they divided their farm. I couldn't find the details with this, but whether they divided their farm into 3 sections, and this is the third and final section of their natural, of their, self-grown barley. That's how they did it. But really, whether it would be the third year or the third crop, I'm guessing they divided that farm into thirds, and this was the result. So as they are going through and cultivating the earth, they're getting it.
I guess if you're like into like Nikola Tesla and stuff, it's all about threes, right? They're splitting into threes, their third crop. They do 3 special releases. This is the third of their special releases that they do every season. So yeah, there you go. 3s. I don't know. I have nothing else to really say about that. I'm just talking the talk, I guess.
I think it's going to be interesting because it sounds like the fact that they've decided to age this one in first run Oloroso's sherry casks. So not leached of all of that sherry flavor yet. It looks like it is a nice, deep, rich Scotch, again, 46 ABV, so it wasn't watered down to that 40, but definitely not also a cask strength. But I am excited for this one because it sounds like from the things they did, they've got some serious potential here.
All right, well, I'm ready to see what they have in store for us if you are.
Absolutely. Let's pop this open. So this is our second Scotch from the Lochlea distillery. And this one, again, 46% ABV, non-chill filtered, no color added. Thank you for using a container, a box, to help protect it from light and aging. And that, my friends, non-chill filtered, no color added. That is a deep and dark Scotch whiskey. So excited about that. Love the fact that they are using the solid wood top, the actual solid cork, not a pressed cork. The wooden top does have, whether it's etched or cut into their distillery information. It's great. I'm excited. They've got their own unique body, style, shape, and it is ribbed for, we're going to say gripping pleasure, so you don't drop it, hopefully. Right off the bat, the nose.
I'm thinking that purple label goes really great with how deep that color is from that Oloroso sherry.
It's got to, man. It is fantastic.
It almost reminds me of like in color, like a port, almost like that, like raisiny or plumish type of color that you get from a port.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Because to me, this is darker than any sherry I've had.
Yeah.
Oh, well, maybe not. There have been some good ones.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and head over to our warp speed so that way we can do our tasting notes. So cheers.
Cheers.
All right, Lochlea, the Fallow Edition, third crop, final. What is it? Final destination.
Final crop.
Final crop. Okay.
Third and final crop.
Third final crop. Third final crap. Crap.
Crap.
Anywho, I'll start off with the presentation. I love it. The box isn't like nothing like. To really like shake your, I don't know. It's just a box. It's a box with a nice looking label on there. But here's the thing: they're doing something like some Scotch houses aren't doing anymore. So I actually like that. Then you got like a nice solid like decanter type bottle with a wooden top and real cork. And I actually do like the purple with the gold foil barley leaf on there. I think that's barley leaf. I like it, so I give that a 5 out of 5. The color, I didn't really go into much depth on like what the color was. I just put liquid dates. Like if you can milk a date, I'm not sure how you milk almonds either, but if you can milk a date, that's what it would look like, in my opinion. So I just put liquid date there. And then the nose. Oh, I gave that a 5 out of 5 on the color. I love how deep, dark, and rich it looks. So yeah, that's definitely a 5. The nose. I have hints of oak with notes of blackberry, sweet dates, some ripe plums, with a hint of maple syrup pancakes.
Ooh.
I really like that nose. I thought it was really interesting, especially the maple syrup pancakes part, because it really did smell like pancakes to me there. And didn't smell like cheap syrup, so it would have to be maple, I would think. But anyways, I liked it. I gave it 27 out of 30 points. The palate here, when it first hit my palate, I got a note of dried apples followed by sweet dates and fig. And then that helped, what helped, like, I guess, give it some little bit more girth or body to it. It followed up with some earth tones, and I would almost say, I guess winter spice is probably the best way to describe it, because it does get spicy, and it has like cinnamon and probably some of those other like winter spices in there, like it's like a little bit of clove and maybe a little bit of aniseed in there, and I wouldn't doubt if nutmeg was a tad bit in there as well. But so I went with like winter spice there. I love the palette. I gave it 27 points. Now the finish here. The finish to me, it starts off with subtle notes of honey and pancake up front that dwindles down into a long-lasting spice and like that winter spice again with like a hint. There's like a hint of oak there again for me. Like to me, the oak is there, but it wasn't like super prevalent, and but it was nice how it complemented both the palette and the finish. Like I said, it was really mild though, but I like the finish as well. I gave that 27 out of 30 points. Palette 27 out of 30 points. So that gave me a grand total of 91 points. So 5, 27, 27, 27. This actually surprised me. I didn't expect something like that from the Lowlands and such a new distillery. If you do get a chance to find this, I'd say definitely pick it up. I know it's a limited edition, so good luck finding it. But if you can find it, pick it up.
All right. Well, much like Noah, I appreciate the packaging. Again, it's not that it's sexy, but it's classy. And I
packaging,
like that.
Ribbed. Come on.
That's right. It's classy. It's ready for action. Don't you deny it. So presentation gets a solid 5. I really love the solid wood and cork. The color, it's interesting because what you mentioned is one of the scents is actually what I will call the color of this. This is maple syrup whiskey. Like that is the color of maple syrup. To me, it doesn't taste anything like maple syrup, so I was hesitant to call it that, but that is the color. It is fantastic. Non-chill filtered, no color added. That's amazing. 5 out of 5 on the color for the nose. Man, I enjoy this nose. It's got some mild oak right off the front, some baked apples. Honestly, sweet dates. Then the blackberries and the raspberries kick in. A hint of wood spice and just a tinge of like a vanilla creaminess. For me on the nose, 27. The palate was my high score. I love this palate. It is getting a solid 29. A lot of the nose transitions and follows into the palate. It's got this creamy vanilla mouthfeel right at the front with the tiniest little hint of oak and baked apple and dates or raisins. And then there's also blackberries or raspberries or both that are in there. Sweet malt. like super sweet malt. It's a pretty sweet Scotch. 29 on the palate, and that's when it transitions to the finish. The finish was another solid score to 27. At the finish, I get another hint of mild oak. There is, and I like this term, the mixed peppercorn flavor. It's not black pepper, but there's a little bit of pepper. There's also some dry cinnamon. And what I mean by that cinnamon powder is that drying mouthfeel. However, it doesn't lose the creamy mouthfeel at the same time. At the beginning of the finish, it's almost buttery as it transitions to this drying. Pancake. Yeah, it's as it transitions to this drying, chocolatey, more like a cocoa, not chocolatey, but cocoa cinnamon finish. Again, 27. So for me, this was another delight. I actually loved the palate. For me, this is another 93. Here's where it gets tough. Like, it's not necessarily sexy, but would I take it to a black tie event?
Oh, I didn't even talk about that stuff.
Like, first of all, I probably would take it to a game night for people who appreciate it. If they're not going to appreciate it, no. But I'm assuming if I'm going to a game night, I'm going with people who would appreciate it. So yes, for game night. I'm going to say yes for black tie. Again, I don't mind talking about it. It's not necessarily sexy, but definitely would take it to a black tie. And then finally, does it have a spot on the shelf as a lowland single malt that you can talk to? All of the ingredients coming from that farm, including the borehole water. Yes, it does.
Since I forgot to mention all that stuff, I agree with you on all three accounts. So. Sorry, I didn't mean to get the last word in there. I forgot all about all that.
No.
I was excited about it,
I am excited about it too. Like I said, like 293s 2 weeks in a row for me. Again, life is great. I don't know what else to say.
It's time for our shout-outs.
I'm actually just going to leave it alone. I don't want to get too crazy political. I'm just going to leave it alone.
All right.
You're up.
I'm just going to give a get it together to the world. Can we stop having historical moments that are like totally life-changing? Like, I think I'm ready for a few. I'm sure I'm not the only one, but I think a lot of people are ready for a few years of like calm and peace.
Yeah, if you're watching this sometime in the distant future, we're talking about Israel and Iran both failing to hold true to this ceasefire. And it's interesting that you say that because last night I was like drained. And when I woke up this morning, I realized I'm like, it's not that this war is on our soil, but God damn it, I just want it over with. Like, can we just have some peace? Like, I've worked so hard to have peace in my life.
Wow, it's apparently like they almost screwed up the ceasefire this morning. So I gotta give a shout out to like how Trump handled that too.
Yeah, I know some people were complaining about him dropping the F-bomb. I was right there with him. Like, I have zero problem with the U.S. president saying that word when what happened. Guess what? We all cuss at some point, except for those people who aren't strong enough to realize that something is that bad.
I have no problem with them swearing. Here's the thing. Sorry, now you get me revved up here.
I'm just like, fuck.
Maybe I got myself revved up here. But ultimately, like, here's the thing. I think if you talk to most Americans, we said that we are tired of just having politicians in office who lied to us and deceived us and didn't talk to us straight. We finally have a president who talks to us straight, and he doesn't you may not like him, or you may like him. I don't know. It depends on what your point of view is, but it's not like he really just like hides stuff, and he treats us like adults.
I agree.
And, and he gets pissed off because he gets asked a bunch of dumb questions. And, there's a bad situation, which he just basically was up over 24 hours handling. And then, he had a nerve rattle. So he drops the F-bomb. You know what? I guarantee 99.9% of Americans, if they were up all night, asked a bunch of dumb questions by somebody, and it hit a nerve, I'm sure they would drop the F-bomb too.
Dude,
So
I dropped it.
I'm all for it.
I dropped it the other day at work, and then it was like, "Oh, I am so sorry." And the only other person in the room was like, "I've never heard that word before," and chuckled. So thank God. This week's restaurant review on the border. Now, this is the one out by Southlands, the Southlands Mall in Aurora, Colorado.
Well, first off, we were supposed to be going to this place called Man versus Fries.
I was excited for that.
And it sounded like it'd be great for our Smarter Challenge tonight, which is Fate versus Free Will. Unfortunately, maybe it was fate that we never went to Man versus Fries because you can only order it online because it's a ghost kitchen. So we ended up at On the Border. Now, take out that initial disappointment. Let's talk about the outside. Outside was okay. The parking lot was decent. It's easy to get to if you know how to get to the Southlands Mall area. I almost drove past it, but if it wasn't for Jesse and my GPS yelling at me, I would have missed a turn in. But luckily we didn't. So, parking lot seemed pretty decent. I gave the outside a 6. It had some outdoor patio. The way it was situated. It looks like you would have been able to, on a hot day, get some some decent shaded coverage there. So it would have been nice outside. The inside is what you would expect from a chain restaurant, at least a Mexican type of style chain restaurant. The AC was definitely working, so that was nice. So we ended up sitting on the inside. I gave the inside a 6 because once again, it's what I would expect from a chain Mexican restaurant. Nothing special there. The food, I ordered the Dorita burrito. I don't even know how to pronounce it. It looks like Dorito and burrito put together, like burrito or something like that. Anyways, it had you could choose whatever protein you wanted. I choose to go with the steak. Has beans and rice. It's supposed to come with queso in there, and it looked like it would have been a decent. Cause it's basically fried. Like it's put in a large tortilla and fried, and it looked like it would have been really good. And normally, I don't get rice in my burritos or anything like that. Did you find the name?
The Big Borderito.
Borderito.
It's like on the border, Borderito.
Borderito. Okay, sorry. To me, it looked like Dorito. And
no, I was just like, that's actually, I remember that being on Noah's plate.
Borderito, sorry. The Big Borderito. It looked really cool in the picture, and here's my problem with it. Is that even though they grilled the tortilla, which is what I expected because that's what it looks like in there, I would have expected to have it held up. But like the moment you picked it up, it all like starts falling apart on you, and so it didn't hold together. And I'm not really sure if that's because I asked for no queso because I'm kind of a freak about cheese that looks like it's plastic, so that's why I don't eat queso really. But I was actually going to order the fajitas but then the guy's like, well, I can make it with no queso. I'm like, all right, fine, I'll do that. But in any case, maybe I should have gone with the fajitas.
I'll bet it would have changed the score.
I bet you it would have been. But the flavors weren't all that bad, but I because it kept falling apart on me and I didn't, whatever. I just finally opened it up and just ate what was on the inside, threw some salsa on there. And it was decent. I did like their refried beans, by the way. Their refried beans had a nice flavor to it. Their rice I didn't really like. But then again, I don't like Mexican rice, so that's not like a big deal there. So the food, long story short, I gave it a 6 out of 10. Service, the gentleman was, I wouldn't say he showed up at all the appropriate times or whatever, but he did a decent job. I thought he was a little bit above average, so I gave him a 6. The value, though, the amount of food that we received for what we ordered, I thought it was a lot of food. So I gave that an 8 out of 10 because you got a lot of food. Now, here when you talk about value, right? Either you're talking about quantity versus the dollar, or you're talking about the quality versus the dollar. In this case, I'm going with the quantity versus the dollar. Right, for like the price that I paid, like at some other places, doesn't seem like it's that much food, but here it was like a lot of food. And then you also got your chips and salsa, and the salsa was decent. The chips were also the one thing I wish the chips had was more salt. So I wish they had salt and pepper on the table. So if they had that, I would have that would have been even better. But in any case, service got a 6 because, like I said, he wasn't super Johnny on the spot, but he wasn't bad either. And then the value got an 8, so that gives me a total of 6.4. Would I take a date there? No. Would I meet a friend there? Possibly. But there are other Mexican places that I would rather go to within like a 5 to 10 minute driving radius. And is it a destination? No. What I will say about On the Border is, to me, that it was just so in the mid-range of okayness that it was in the area where I wasn't disappointed that I went, but I also was not excited to go back again either. It was just so much in the middle road that it left me with no desire to go back and no desire to go to not eat there. It was just kind of like, nah. And I don't know how else to explain that place. I was really excited for the Man versus Fries. I thought it was going to be a real place, but
I was excited for that too. I was actually super stoked for that, even to see what the hell it was.
Well, and the thing is too, like they didn't even serve the same stuff that was on the Man versus Fries menu, which there was the one thing I really wanted on there. So
which is their kitchen. Like literally, it's their kitchen.
Yeah, it's their kitchen. I don't know why they can't make it, but whatever. Anyhow.
All right. Well, for me, I walked in. The exterior. I was a passenger. The exterior is not sexy, but it also wasn't bad. I gave the exterior a 7 because they did have some outdoor seating. It wasn't crisp. It didn't look like it was fresh, but it wasn't totally run down. The parking lot was accessible. And so ultimately the exterior got a 7 for me. The interior, I thought the interior was pretty good. It wasn't outstanding. It wasn't great, but it was fun and lively for me. There was plenty of color. I actually gave the interior an 8. Service, the gentleman, I had no problems with him, and I actually appreciated that as early as we went on a Sunday morning, that the manager came and just like, how's everything going? And I'm like, get away from me, but whatever, it's great. So ultimately, no complaints there, 7 for service. The food, okay, here we get into the food. So I had the sangarita. That was great. I loved the chips and salsa. I will agree, because the chips came out hot, and the salt, if it had been on the table, probably would have stuck to them, and that would have been fantastic. That would have upped them a notch. But I really enjoyed the chips and salsa. But then I ordered the Grand Pappy. Now, this is a full plate of food, not bad for like $16. It comes with a mini cheese quesadilla. They don't say mini, I'm saying mini, but a cheese quesadilla, a chicken tenga enchilada with some sour cream sauce, a crispy ground beef taco. That was the win. That was delicious. The ground beef was cooked to perfection. The taco was crispy. Everything inside was fresh. That was my win. A chicken flauta and 2 beef empanadas. I think part of it was that I wasn't considering this when I ordered this. Everything was fried right down to, I really believe it was a fresh fried taco shell, which was great for the taco shell. It was hot. It was delicious. It was my favorite part, but eating everything else fried, it was all pretty bland flavor-wise, especially compared to that taco, that it just left me wanting. There's tons of food. I ate most of it. I didn't love the rice. I didn't get refried beans, and I wish I would have, because the way they sounded great.
They were great.
Yeah, they sounded great. So I do wish I would have had those. I didn't have those. So the food for me only gets a 6 because except for that taco, everything else genuinely tasted bland to me. And there weren't, maybe if there had been some guacamole or something to dip it in, it could have inched it up a little bit. But ultimately, the food is 6. The value for what I got, the sangarita and that plate, I left stuffed. I actually wished I hadn't eaten so much. The value for me ultimately gets an 8. Would I meet a friend there? I actually would meet a friend there. I actually do want to go back and just try one of their taco plates because that taco was so goddamn good. Everything else, fuck that. But everything else can go to the wayside. The taco was so damn good, and the sangarita was delicious. So I actually would like to go back and try one of their taco plates. Would I take a date there? No. It's just not sexy. There's nothing about it that was sexy. And then is it a destination? No. All right, this week's Smarter Challenge, as I remember it at the end of the last show, it was to talk about, and you mentioned 3 words or terms in particular. It is fate, destiny, and free will. So just really quickly, first of all, starting with the simple one, free will, as we understand that this is the capacity, the ability for us as individuals to choose between different possible courses of action. So we choose our destiny. We choose whether to do good or bad. Could be one way to speak about, or to exercise control over our actions. So that's free will, is literally having all of the choices to do this. Now, fate and or destiny, these 2 words are also actually very different. Destiny is closer to free will than fate, and destiny is viewed as a path that one is meant to follow. However, we can influence that path based on our free will. So the choices we make, we can be on a path, and we all know we're going to die. So there's that fact. That's a fate. That's the destiny. There's no free will there. We all get to that end point, but how we get to that end point with destiny is really the one where we have choices along the way. Fate, man, this one's simple. It literally refers to events that are predetermined and cannot be changed, ultimately often seemed as a fixed outcome. So that's kind of the key point here, as you gave us this very interesting mind game to think about. What do we believe in? Which of these makes sense to us?
Yeah, and I kind of came up with this idea because, if going back to a couple episodes ago with the ballerina.
Oh, I love that.
There was a very big theme in there, which I think we forgot to really touch upon or talk about, which it was fate versus free will. And the cult, they talked about everything is all based off of fate. And then when you looked at Eve and her being with the Rosca, yeah. She said that everything she had was free will, and she chose her path. But then when you talk the people in the cult, they're like, you were already destined to come here. It was fate that you're going to be here, that you chose this path. And so then you and I had this, I'm just kind of just giving people some background here, how we got here, is that then you and I started talking about whether it be 1 or 2 choices that we would change in our lives if we could. And if you believe in multiverse, there's probably a version of us that might have made that other choice. And really, there's I think in everybody's life, there's probably somewhere between 1 to maybe 5 key choices that they've come across that could have probably altered their life path. I think a lot of the other minor choices probably wouldn't alter that path very much. But then that comes into the question, if there's like I said, 5 maybe key choices, then does that mean that it's really not free will and therefore it's fate or destiny? I mean, so I think it would be something to consider. So I'm not sure if there's a spot where you want to jump off from, but that's kind of like, that was my thought process going into this.
No, it's very interesting because I think the one fact is there is a fate for all of us. We do not live forever. So we can't deny at least some truth in fate.
Correct.
However, I will say that we all do have free will. It's whether or not we choose to exercise it or how we choose to exercise it, which is largely based on our own mindset. So, for example, a sociopath is going to choose different choices than I would because they have a different drive or desired result that they are looking for. Whereas I may want to be like, hey, at the end of each day, when I know I did more good than bad, I feel good. I don't know that a sociopath gives a shit.
Well, here's the thing. Is it because of fate that they're a sociopath?
So I think when you look...
or is it because of life experiences, or because of the choices they made when they were younger?
I think you can literally divide fate versus free will by the determination, and this is where both are truth. Both do exist. How impactful they are, there's two key factors, and we all hear about this when we're young and so often forget about nature versus nurture. We are born with a goddamn genetic code. Then we are nurtured by those that raise us to use our mind and body. And there is absolute truth that some parental figures, parents, will train and teach and educate their children to be happy and to be good. And others do a shit-tastic job or not even present, and then create a situation where it may take longer for education, or the education can be different because it's a harder life, and both can be true, by the way. Like, you can have both parents there and have one of them or both of them be nightmares, and you can have one parent there or no parents there and be raised by foster care and have a dream situation. So it's not so simple as that, but those of us that choose to help others grow at any stage in life are using the nurture piece. But both exist in the fact that nature has had its impact. If someone has an IQ of 80 and another one has an IQ of 160, because of how I've grown up and been nurtured and understand nature, it's not that I don't care about the person with the IQ of 80 less than a smart dog. I'm gonna go spend my time with the 160.
Okay, so you bring a good point here, nature versus nurture, and that person with the 80,
dude, that was fate. That was absolutely fate.
Are you sure it's fate? Because if we're talking about nurture,
dude, there's a possibility that they didn't have a choice, and they will never be smarter than a smart dog.
So that was fate.
That was fate. They're
like nothing that they could have done when they were younger.
No stem cell technology is going to help them get to 160.
So there's like no possible way they could have found a mentor or anything like that to change their life path.
It's not that they can't get a mentor. It's that a mentor, and here's where it gets like, this is where it's ugly and true. You're wasting your time trying to get an 80 to a 160. It's like finding a 5, and let's say I'm a 5. It's like saying I'm a 5 and then saying I'm gonna make you a 10. Like, I'm in. You ain't gonna increase my height 5 inches. You aren't going to increase my wallet without winning the lottery. Like, for me to go from current status to a 10 takes things that fate would imply. And that's where certain things come. Now, to go from an 8 to a 9, yeah, that's doable. Like, I'm going to help you finish your degree, get more money, clean up your act, X, Y, and Z. These are things that you can teach someone with a 160 IQ that you can't teach someone with an 80. Both exist. And
I'm not saying they both don't exist.
I thought about this a ton, and I love the fact that this thing is, because part of it is also like, okay, here's some truth to me. I have made some bad life choices. I would change some things most likely, but God, man, if Leslie didn't give me the two gifts on this planet, in life, Mila and Aiden, literally the two gifts I've ever received in life, and the fact that they're both brilliant individuals and they are good humans, and like that again is fate. Yes, there was some control in that, but how they were developed, that's how I did my piece. That, you know, and also their mom and stepdad, who I honestly, I both respect both of them so much. They did so much. But for my pieces, like I'm also very happy for what I brought to their lives, and they don't always like it, by the way. Like sometimes there's that hard conversation, like, nah, you gotta like pay your own way, or yeah, this is the truth, versus, hey, you ready to go to the gun range, you're 18 and graduated.
So all right, to bring it back into a little bit about this fate versus free will, and also kind of like, I guess, the multiverse thing.
That's where I think, yeah, I got off track.
No, I think it's fine. I think it's a good conversation, and we could probably talk about this for a while. I think when we were talking, I think a few nights back when we were talking about this, I said, I mentioned how I think we probably went together to this place. We went to like the Navy, I'm not sure if it was
recruiting center.
It was a recruiting center. I'm just wasn't sure if all four branches were there. I definitely remember it was the Navy part, and then not sure which other branches were there.
I didn't go with you, but you showed me where it was.
Oh, okay.
And it was something that I had seriously considered. But then, like, and this is what's so crazy. The reason I chose not to is because I didn't want to set my bed every day. And now I literally set my bed every day. I have not set my bed once in 5 years.
So I was just saying, like, now, like when we were talking a few nights back, I was like, yeah, you know, now like I'm so like really into guns. I wonder, like, if I was like that much into guns when we were in high school, if I would have chosen the path to go through the military. And then, you know, taking like the like their assessment test or whatever. I know they said that I had like some linguistic skills, like that's where I scored the highest at. And so, any case,
this tongue works well, ladies. You hear to hear.
Yeah, I guess for foreign, I guess I did well with foreign languages, the foreign languages part. But anyhow, I was just thinking, like, how would life be different if I went through the military versus not going through the military and going through college? And like, how would that life path? Would I still end up being where I'm at now, or would that totally change my life path? And then therefore, that free will, that maybe that was one of those key points in life where it would change my trajectory so much that I would not still end up in the same spot. Because if I still ended up in the same spot, that would be fate. Whereas if I ended up in a different spot, that would be free will.
Here's what I would say about that particular situation. Knowing how smart you are, had you gone to the military, your life would be so far elevated right now, it would be insane. And I actually think the same about myself. I think that the not intelligent people that get into the military are the ones that they don't do poorly or anything. Like, they do a lot of great things for our country. I appreciate every risk they take, everything they do, the police, the firefighters, all of them. That is genuine. Every time I even drive by one, like, I just wish I could tell them that. With that piece being, though, the intelligent people, man, they can really benefit from a military career, whether it's short or long. And there are times I look back and I wish I would have done it. Like, actually, I won't say there are times. I always look back and wish I would have done it, whether it was 4 years, 8 years, or 20 years, get my pension, have my lifetime and service served, of course, have medical and then go do something else, whether a freelance or maybe just stay in the military. Who knows? But I do wish I would have done that. Like, there's not a day that goes by. The only parts, actually, this is the only part that like is tough, is because if that meant I didn't have Mila and Aiden, I wouldn't want it. But destiny versus free will, like, what would have the choice been? And that's where it gets really hard, because Mila and Aiden are my blessings.
Yeah, so and that, I think you make some really valid points there, and I also agree with you. I think even after college, I wish I kind of would have gone that route with going into the military, where I didn't. I went into the more party mode and like went to go work and do some things that probably. I mean, I worked in a position which did not utilize my intelligence.
So now consider, and I think the same thing for myself. I actually consider myself fairly structured. Imagine, though, you go into the military as opposed to what we both did.
I think it would have made me more disciplined, and I would have been able to harness my skills a lot better.
Again, as smart as you are, there's no doubt you're like multi-millionaire status to me. And I don't know that I would have had the same end result, but my life would definitely be different, whereas I think I'd feel more fulfilled knowing I had a bigger impact on my community, a bigger positive impact on my community is my point.
Yeah, and I think there's a couple other points in my life where I think it would have changed the trajectory a little bit. But ultimately, here's the bottom line. Regardless if there were 1, 2, 3, or up to 5 choices that one could change in their life, would you change it though? Because you I feel like I live a pretty blessed life anyway.
So do I.
So would I have been able to have the same experiences that I've had? Would I have been able to meet the same people that I've had, and all those things? And really, like, every decision, choice, thought process, everything has led everyone to where they are currently at the very moment of watching this video, or us here talking about where we're at. And there are so many decisions along the way. There's and an infinite amount of choices that we've all made on a day-to-day basis. Maybe it could have been the time we went to go use the restroom or something that could have altered our life path, because then that caused us to leave the house a minute later, thus causing us to get into a car accident or whatever. There's all these different choices that can happen in a life, and then I think people can always boil down to a few of them, and you have to think to yourself, what would your life path be like if you...
I will say, I want to say, sorry for the interruption.
No, go ahead. I think I need to be interrupted there.
I think my struggle here with where you're going is, I do believe, so fate, destiny, free will. I do believe destiny is where I lie. That's where I believe. And the ultimate piece being there. And here's the tricky part. Either one of us could have gone to the military. We were in high school. We were just talking about this. The Gulf War was going on. Either one of us could have gone into duty and been killed. And then none of this. And those are the pieces where I'm like... To answer your question, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different times in life, would you go back and change any of them? No. Even though there aren't times I wish I'd gone to the military, I actually do. I really do wish I would have served our country in these pieces, but I wouldn't go back and change it, because at the end of the day, no Mila, no Aiden to take, and no us right here, right now, in this moment, blessed life. I'm not saying we're living, Bezos style, trying to get married in Italy or anything. Bezos, whatever his name is.
Be nice.
It would be nice, but we could also be dead.
Yeah.
Our first tour of duty could have been for our country and ended our life. And that's the other reason I really respect all of those individuals, is because they go in knowing that. You have to have a lot of faith to believe your fate will lead you to the right place. So long story short, to answer the ultimate question of this whole show, I wouldn't change anything. However, I do every day now. Every day with certain decisions, like don't drink and drive. That's fate versus destiny. Every day now, I try to make the right decisions and say, I'm really trying to do good. Like, I don't want to do any harm.
That's actually, you're making a good point right there about making the right decision, because I think if a person can get anything out of this particular episode, which is kind of like a fluff, it's kind of a deep, but yet
it's
a fluff.
Super deep.
It was meant to be kind of like a fluff type topic.
Didn't end that way.
But I think you made a good point here about your decision, like making a good decision. I think anytime you make a person makes a decision, they should weigh into a fact, what would my future self think?
That's brilliant right there, and I love that.
Like, would my future self appreciate this decision, or would my future self regret this decision that I made? And does it put that future me in a worse position?
And I think, and I know your mom tried to do this with you, as my parents, I can say, definitely did this with me. They made me appreciate things. Mm-hmm. And I'm only saying tried to do that with you, not that she didn't, because I don't want to put words in your mouth. But from what I know about your mom, all of our parents really tried to do those pieces. You talk about your dad going to the movies with you all the time. He also did that piece. He did his part. He made an impact, and it's that piece of you end up, because of moments spent appreciating life. It's really easy as someone ages and you get from, we'll start young, 10 to 20 to 30, and we're nowhere near there yet to like 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. But it's really easy for an 80-year-old to look back and say, have all this infinite wisdom. But as a 20-year-old, it's like, well, what's the worst that could happen? A lot.
Yeah, a lot. Definitely a lot. I mean, like, there are those people, right? And this is one of the many, many reasons why I don't do drugs.
Dude, you and I both.
Is I always imagine myself like, what if I did this drug and then I turn into one of these junkies or whatever who like basically lives for their next rush and then is homeless or whatever, like that was definitely a decision I made to never try one of these things, because I never want to put my future self into that position to where I could go down that path. I just basically locked that pathway off. Like, okay, I can make all these other decisions, but this decision, never going to happen.
Well, I'm right there with you. Never done an illegal drug. And that was the whole point is, and I know I talk to you about this often, especially lately, where I'm like, if there's 10 people and 9 of them are crackheads, if I'm the non-crackhead, I'm not going to go become a crackhead. I'm going to stay on best practice.
Exactly. Stay on best practice. And, And so yeah, I mean, I kind of went to the far extreme there with the.
No, I think that's absolutely real. And to think about that though, now you get to this point where educators, mentors, teachers, and I don't like all things teacher, in the sense of how the hell do these people get 3 months off a year, still their weekends, and I'm just like whatever, right? And then they complain about their pay being the same.
I don't know how they go on strike and shit like that when they like live off the public's tit.
That's a really good point, but we're not going there. But at the end of the day, I actually respect each and every teacher out there, from the sense that I do believe they have the intent to do good. And again, it's like police or firefighters, there is this intent to educate future generations. And when I think about the education you and I had in high school in particular, it absolutely shaped my life in the positive ways.
I think certain teachers have
we had Ginsburg. We had so many great teachers.
We had a lot of great teachers, and I would say probably if you were to ask me, like, what is the one teacher that comes to your mind from high school? I would guarantee you my first words would have been Ginsburg.
Second, third,
Kinsley.
and then for me, Pinkerton.
I didn't
My
have
physics.
Pinkerton. I don't think I had Pinkerton.
You only taught physics, I think.
Yeah, so yeah, I don't think I had him. I think my number 3 would be Mr. Gomez. He was a math teacher.
Okay.
But and this is the most ridiculous part here. Sorry, you guys are going to get some history from me here about me. Miss, I don't know. I know her name began with a K, and she was married to another teacher there at Smoky Hill. But she held me back from Algebra 2, and she hated me. And when I went to Mr. Gomez's class my senior year, and I was doing he called me Mr. Homework because I never turned in my homework on time. I turned all my homework in at the end, and I usually copied. And when I say the end, I mean at the end of every chapter, like when we were having our end of chapter tests. And I sat at this round table with this girl. I copied all of her homework. And
I don't know why I'm not passing the test.
And I was passing the test, and she was copying me on the test. And he knew it too. He's like, and I think the reason why he didn't care is because he was the softball teacher, and she was on the softball team.
Did. My honorable mention, Dean Rory. Thank you.
Dean. Oh, okay. Yeah, there was Dean Rory.
She was cool as shit.
She was cool. We had a little bit. We had our moments though.
My favorite time ever is when I went to Dean Rory's office because I had a rough morning and I didn't want to get up because I stayed up too late the night before. My mom came in and woke me up. She's like, Jesse, you got to get up for school. And I'm like, fuck. I want to fucking get up. Fuck you. I don't remember exactly what I said, but I know I cussed at my mom, which is never okay, by the way. And I remember I got to school and I went straight to the dean's office. It was my first stop and the dean was there and her assistant was there. And I'm like, can I please use your phone? And they're like, yeah, what's wrong? I just need to call my mom and apologize. And they're like, all right, well, whatever. And this cell phones didn't exist, kids. And I was like literally called home and called my mom. And Mom, I'm so sorry for cussing at you this morning. My mom was laughing her ass off.
That's cool that you did that though.
I felt to this day, obviously I still feel bad about it. I'm like, no.
I called my mom the B word once. It only happened one time.
Yep.
All right. I don't know if there's anything else you want to talk about this. I'm sure we can talk about it.
I mean, is there a place? I do believe in destiny. That's where mine is. I think there is a fate, the end. But destiny, you have a start, you have a finish. There's destiny. We do have choices. We can impact it. It's not all of our choice.
So, like with destiny, though, isn't it like predetermined?
The end is predetermined. How you get there isn't. You're going to die. Do you spend your life in prison or do you spend your life in church?
Isn't fate, though, the same thing? It's
fate means you don't really have free will. You don't get to make choices along the way. Fate is saying basically you're born
so
and everything
if I'm
you've
interpreting,
done.
if I'm understanding you correctly, you're saying the destiny part is we are going to die, but how we get there is based upon free will.
Yes. So fate.
By that definition, I agree with you.
Fate is saying our next restaurant for next week's restaurant review has already been determined.
How do we know it hasn't?
Because destiny says we're having these pieces and we're going to use our own free will to decide what the hell goes with F1, the movie, by the way.
But here's the thing, we don't know what we don't know. So how do we know if that restaurant is not already predetermined?
It's not that you don't know it. You can't ever know it. But I do believe that the reason it's not predetermined is because we're going to decide what the hell goes with F1, the movie.
All right. Well, there you have it, folks. Fate versus destiny. Or free will. What do you believe? Do you believe everyone is your life is determined by fate? Do you believe your life is determined by destiny? Or do you believe your life is determined by free will?
One little afterthought.
Okay.
Really easy for someone who's not accountable to say fate and destiny. really easy for someone who holds themselves fully accountable to say it's free will.
Self-accountability is a whole nother topic altogether.
Agreed. It all comes down to discipline.
Yeah. So with that being said, let us know what you guys believe your life or what life is in general. Do you believe in fate, destiny, or free will? And I don't know. Like let us know what you guys think.
Yeah. Next week's Smarter Challenge. F1 the movie.
That was fate.
Do that.
That the movie, the moment that movie had a trailer and came out, it was fate that it was going to be a Smarter Challenge.
Now here's the question: am I gonna cry? I'll bet I cry during this.
No, that is fate. You are going to cry.
All right. Well.
Well, if you made it this far, thank you very much for watching us. We greatly appreciate all of you. Whether you're watching us on YouTube and Rumble or listening to us on one of the many different podcast platforms, please like, share, and subscribe if you like our content or this conversation. Really, let us know what you feel about anything that we talked about this evening. Let us know if you've tried this Lochlea final third crop fallow edition.
Fallow edition, third crop.
Yes, I said it all in the incorrect manner. But regardless, let us know what you feel about this particular Scotch, and about what you feel about fate, destiny, and free will. Is it or if there was one or maybe two key choices in your life that you might have changed, and if you think that would make you put you into a better life trajectory or not. With that, I am going to change our not trajectory because it's going to be fake because he does it every week. I'm going to pass it over to Jesse so that way he can close us out and tell us what we need to know.
Remember, life is great. Do not drink and drive. Choose destiny, not fate. And remember, life isn't always easy, but that only helps you appreciate the times that are. Until next week when we review F1 the movie. Scotchman!
Cheers.
Cheers.
We hope you enjoyed this evening's episode of Scotch Hour. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. Also, if you have not done so already, please become a Patron member, with memberships starting as low as $1 a month. Thank you, and hopefully you have a wonderful evening.